taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance.
I love our intro. Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome to the Isn't It Romantic Book Club. We are beaming in live to the Isn't It Romantic Book Club. We're live on YouTube. We're on Team Source Books, My Dangerously Dark Darlings. We're kind of like all over the place. So welcome. If you are here watching, please make sure that you realize that when you leave a comment, you're leaving a comment on Facebook, but we're on something called StreamYard. So a lot of times it doesn't tell us your name. It will just say Facebook user. So if you just want to type your name at the end of your comment, just so we know who you are, so we don't have to just say Facebook user. I know that seems weird, but it's just a weird thing with the platform we're using. So I'm Abbie Roads. I write dark romantic thrillers. I tell people to think like an episode of Criminal Minds meets a love story with a little twist. I have a little stack of books here. There's Dangerous Dreams and Broken Dreams and Shattered Dreams, and that's my little stack. Who's next?
Hi, everyone. Diana Muñoz Stewart. I write romantic suspense for the strong of heart. My series, my Spy Makers Guild series is out. Whoops, wrong book, of course. The first book, Hidden Justice. The prequel novella, Fighting Fate. And the second book in the series actually out August 15th. So it's not
that's coming.
I love the cover.
Yes.
All your
I
covers
love
are
the cover. Isn't that cute?
Yeah, I love it.
That color is
It's
good.
gorgeous.
Oh, thanks, Jess. And I have Broken Promises that is out now. And if you're going to be at Steamy Lit Con, you can pick up a special edition or more, actually, which is so gorgeous.
Pretty cover
Oh
too.
my
That
gosh.
Beautiful.
I know, isn't that beautiful?
That's gorgeous. When is Steamy LitCon?
Okay.
When is that, Diana?
August 17th. So
Okay.
August 17th.
That sounds like
So,
fun.
yeah, it should be a ball.
Okay, Jenny.
Jennie,
Nice.
Why are you sitting in the car?
Okay, yes. So, hi, I'm Jennie Marts, and I am at a family reunion up at our family's cabin. You can kind of see our cabin in the background. So, I am in the car. I was standing in the rain trying to open the gate, so that's why my hair is sticking up like crazy. And I just had to open the door because apparently it's hot in the car. So, yeah, this is how much I wanted to come and talk about Abbie's books, and I didn't want to like miss out today. So I should have brought something to hold my phone. So I'm just holding my phone. So I write small town stories with humor and heart. Oh, look at that. I write cowboys. There they are. So I don't have any books with me. I'm using Abbie as my banner.
But I had her books.
And I have a cowboy story and wedding tales. And my newest book that just came out last week, very exciting, is my mystery, Take the Honey and Run. Super excited.
Yeah, love it.
And it's a beekeeping mystery. And
I can't wait to read it.
so, yeah. There
Well,
we
Yeah,
go.
the cover.
So glad you made it, Jenny. And I just want to apologize to everybody if I'm looking down. I'm checking my phone for Facebook comments at the same time, so I'm not being rude. Anyway, my name is Sharon Wray. I'm the fourth member of our wonderful group. I write romantic suspense and a couple of things like motorcycle club romance and stuff. My most current book is Love's Last Kiss. Think like sexy green berets and Dan Brownish type plots. But I also have, it can be used as a weapon. Right in my wrong side of the tracks book. And Jenny and I both have little wedding novellas in our wedding tales books. Those are the most current books out. But it's not about that. Today, it's all about Abbie, who I don't even want to know how long I've known Abbie because we're only 19. So we met when we were like in kindergarten.
Babies.
But Abbie and I have been friends. It's a privilege that Abbie and I have been friends for such a long time. But let me read her bio, which is amazingly short. By day, Abbie Roads is a mental health counselor, always focusing on the bright side. By night, she writes on the dark side. She loves a good inspirational quote and is a huge fan of true crime. There's so much more to say about Abbie, but I think we'll just let her take it away. Good things, only good things.
Welcome, Abbie.
Oh, well, thank you guys. You know, the funny thing about Sharon and I being friends is before I met Sharon, we were both unpublished and we were both submitting our books to contests for unpublished romance writers. And that I was like, who is this dang Sharon Wray who's always beating me in these contests?
Except I wasn't. We were. I rarely won. I mean, we always just final together.
but then I was sort of like having this like, who is she that she's always beating me? And then I meet her and I really like her. So.
Well, I'm so excited to talk about tonight's book, Abbie. I always say when I read a book of yours, it's like, that's my most favorite book of Abbie's. And then I read another one, I'm like, no,
I was thinking the same thing that was my most favorite. Yeah.
I mean,
you know, I just love I have to say, I saw Lori Foster had a post today of people she's reading. And she put up you, Abbie. She said that she's, went through the whole series. And I thought it just makes so much perfect sense because you and Lori write very similar kind of broken characters that, I mean, they're just spectacular. I just love that about you, how you take these characters who people might normally not write and just, make them shine. So it's great.
Oh, that gave me like goosebumps that you compared me to Lori Foster.
And I'm just always so amazed at how you can come up with these interesting little things. So I will go ahead and admit I did a big bad blooper and I read the wrong book. So I read book 3 and we were reading book 2. So I can tell everyone book 3 is amazing. So I read Shattered Dreams instead of Broken Dreams, and so I started Broken Dreams, but I just think I just can't figure out your imagination where you come up with these pieces and the color, like, I read all about the color blindness, but I'm just amazed at how you give them their abilities. How did you come up with their abilities? Because they all kind of have different abilities.
Well, I'm not sure I know.
It just came out.
Honestly, like I don't have a direct memory of how I came up with those things, like that Xander has or Lathan has, or.
Okay, so you know what? I'm sorry. We should go back. And Abbie, would you tell everyone what Broken Dreams is about, including me?
Oh, I hate that question.
Just tell us what it's about.
Oh my God, I don't know. Like I honestly don't know. I could tell you about Lathan. He's hearing impaired. He rides a motorcycle. He's covered in tattoos. He seems very alpha male gruff, but when he meets Ebony, he kind of melts a little bit.
I love that he calls her honey. I love that.
Yes.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yes. Oh, and he's hearing impaired. And I think that makes him my favorite hero because he is hearing impaired. And that just, I think in a way, gives him a little vulnerability that some of the other characters don't have because of that. And then Ebony, she's just sort of been in a bad situation. She's been working at this, I forget what I called it, honey pies. God, this is sad. Sweet buns. I changed the name 3 times.
Sweet buns. Sweet buns.
Okay, she works
Sweet buns.
At Sweet Buns. And this is sad. I'm sorry, guys, that I couldn't remember it. But it was originally honey pies. So, but it is now Sweet Buns. So she works at Sweet Buns, and has to wear these skimpy short shorts and high heels serving people. And it's sort of like one step up from being a stripper almost. And that's how she makes her living. And she just sort of made some bad decisions that landed her there. And when she meets Lathan, sort of saves her from a roadside attack, and then just the moment they meet, things really change for both of them.
That was a great meet cute.
Oh, yeah.
That was fantastic. Yeah. And I like that
Yeah.
I mean, he really is very sensitive about being hearing impaired. So, and I have to know, do you have family members who are hearing impaired? Do you know people, or was it all just
Yeah.
research?
My grandma was hearing impaired, and my grandma and I were so close. Like, she was like a mom to me. And she, by the time I came along, she had hearing aids and was much better than she had been previously. But like, there were stories in the family about her just being so upset that people, when they would talk to her, they would yell. And she would get upset because she's feeling like they're yelling at her. And, because even though all of us can hear, we still rely a little bit on like reading lips a little. Like, if we hear something, but it's not quite making sense, if we're looking at somebody's mouth, a lot of times we can still tell what they're saying. But when somebody over enunciates because they're trying to yell and make it louder, then you can't get that. And so it kind of made me really think about my grandma. But the real inspiration was, I think we talked about it last time we talked, the real inspiration for Lathan was, I was at I'm a mental health counselor, and I was at a mental health counselor workshop, and mental health counselors are not cool people. We're the frumpy, nerdy, like, wear kitty cat shirts, and it's not a good.
You're not going to convince
people.
us looking like that, but okay. Well,
I know,
take your
right?
word for it.
Yeah. Frumpy
But-
is never what I would use
Yes,
to
well,
describe Abbie.
Right,
Let me
exactly.
tell you, the whole genre in general of mental health counselors is not trendy. So I was sitting there in this room full of therapists and waiting for the presentation to begin. And I'm an introvert, so I always sit kind of in the back by myself. I don't want to be around other people. And I just look over at the entrance, and this man walks in who is just drop dead gorgeous. He's wearing a motorcycle jacket, carrying a helmet, and I'm like, because this is not what a
Mental health just got sexy. Yeah, I know.
Right? So like, I'm just like staring the whole time as he walks to the front, and he walks clear to the front of the room. My first thought was, oh, he's the presenter? Oh my gosh. But then he sat down at this little table right next to the podium. Like, the podium is there, and this little table was right next to it. And I thought, that's like an odd spot. Like, he's not sitting with the rest of us. Is he like an assistant? Like, what is he? And so then all of a sudden this lady comes in, and she sits across from him, and she starts signing to him. And I'm like, oh my God, he's hearing impaired. And I cannot tell you what this workshop was about, because I literally stared at him and her signing the entire time, and how she was just like, as she's talking, she's like sort of like super animated and like over enunciating, like with her mouth, and you could just see he was just like really dismissive, like just how he was signing, and his mannerism was like almost like dismissive and angry-ish. And I was just like, and Lathan was born. Like, that was just Lathan. Like, that was the moment he came alive, and that was who I was going to write this book about.
Nice.
I know this was the second book in the series, but I know you also didn't write the series in order, did you? I remember you working on different books at different times.
Yeah, I wrote Dangerous Dreams, and then I spent a year editing it, and I just knew something was wrong with it and could not figure out what. And so I thought, after editing it for a year, and I know there's something wrong with it, I just moved on to Broken Dreams. And I wrote that and spent a year editing it, and then took a Margie Lawson immersion class and figured out what was wrong, and went back and restarted Broken Dreams again from the beginning, trashed everything I'd written before, and rewrote the entire book. And then went back and rewrote Dangerous Dreams. So I kind of wrote them in order, then out of order, if that makes sense. So, and it's
that allowed
people sit. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that allowed you to add elements of, like, to foreshadow the first book, and then add elements from this. You know what I mean? You're able to intertwine some of the things in the book.
Yeah.
So Sharon, I see some questions have been
asked. So I'm sorry, that's what I've been look at my phone. Okay. So, because I wasn't seeing them on the screen, but now I am. Okay. So, Abbie, who inspired you to become a writer?
Probably
Or did anybody?
When I was in second grade, I had a teacher who was really scary, and I was a sensitive kid, and she would like yell. She was just somebody who yelled a lot, and I was always scared in her class because she yelled. And I remember like literally putting my head down and like crying, you know, on my desk because she was just mean. She was just a mean teacher. And like she was the teacher, if you walked up and turned your paper in, and when you turned away from her, she'd smack you on the butt. Like, oh, a teacher would not get away with that today, but like she was just a mean teacher.
Yeah.
And so when we would be reading in reading circle and the book came to me, and it was my turn to say this word, and it was spelled A-S. And in my little second grade brain, I thought A-S because I could sound it out, and it was ass, and I knew ass was a bad word. You know what I mean? I didn't realize there was another ass with ASS versus AS. And I just thought ass was a bad word. And so I was not going to say this bad word in front of this teacher. And she just was horrible to me because I wouldn't say it, and then sent me to like the slow reader class because I wouldn't say ass in front of her. But that was the best thing that ever happened because pretty quickly, Mrs. Knickel realized that I did not have a reading problem, that I was just fine with reading. And she told me that she knew I didn't, and she was going to send me back in. And I begged her to keep me in that class with her. And she did. God love Mrs. Knickel. She kept me in that class with her all year long. And it was like every day I could handle that teacher being mean because I knew I got to leave at a certain time to go and spend time with Mrs. Knickel. And by the time I got done with the second grade, I was reading at a sixth grade reading level. And very quickly, I would tell Mrs. Knickel, I don't like that the author did this. Why didn't they do this? And she was like, well, if you don't like what the author did, then you should write books. And you can make your characters do what you want them to do. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a writer. You know? And so that's
I love that.
I love that
That's
too.
awesome.
I love that.
Teachers are awesome.
Mrs. Knickel.
What type, I kind of know the answers, but what type of research do you do for your books? I know you do a ton of research for your stories.
And Abbie, before you answer that, I have to say I was clapping because of the comment. So you were like, my teacher is so mean, and I started clapping, and I was clapping because of Jennifer's comment that came up on the screen that said she loved all of your books. I was not clapping.
Oh my God!
Really mean to you. Like right as I started clapping, you're like, and she was so mean to me, and I was like, oh shoot. So anyway, okay, continue with your research.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
You know, I'm somebody who I don't pre-research. I wait till like I get to a moment where I have no idea about this thing, and then I do the research. And so I'm like just sort of an in the moment researcher, but stuff with dreams I've researched, like I think it's called I'm not sure even how to say this because like, you know, how you read stuff, but you don't necessarily hear it. Like, I don't know if it's oneirology or oneirology, but like the study of dreams, you know, like, you know, I didn't even know that was a word until like I started
That's really cool.
Like researching this, and that it was a real thing, you know? So, you know, you do just like, I just kind of research in the moment when I run into something that I don't know. Does this exist? Are there things? Does this have a name? You know, and then sometimes I just make crap up because, you know, like, because maybe it's too hard to, like, if there's not a name for, like, how do you, like, Ebony's, oh my God, this is sad. I can't even remember. What's the name of it? Oneirokinesis, you know, where she brings objects back from the dream world to reality. Like, I just made that word up. Like, that's not a real thing, you know? So.
I just like, assumed it was.
No, like, I totally made it up because I was trying to, like, and I was trying to think, like, is that a real thing? And, like, how do you even ask Google that question? You know,
is this a real word?
Right? You know, so like I just made up like oneirokinesis, you know, because, you know, telekinesis with things, and, you know, so anyway, but like I do try to do research. So.
Well, I know
I thought that was really cool. Sorry, go ahead, Sharon.
No, I was gonna say, I know you'd love to listen to true crime podcasts as well.
Oh
So
yeah,
I
I
bet you
love
get
my
some
tree.
really interesting ideas from there. I'm sorry, Diana.
Yeah, and the whole idea for the oneirokinesis, where she can bring back objects from a dream. There's a poem, and I literally have it printed out, and it's downstairs. And it says, and I'm sorry, I can't remember who wrote it, but it says like, what if you dreamed, and what if in your dream you brought back a rose or something? And it literally poses that question, like, what if you had a dream, and in your dream you brought something back? And and that's what I think inspired that whole gift of hers, being able to bring something back from her dreams.
Well, I just love the world building. I mean, and creating the words, and basically you created not just a world where people have these abilities, but you created a dream world too. So is that something you would set out to do? Like, I'm going to, be a world builder. Is that something you like to do, to create those aspects?
I wasn't even thinking of world building, like when I was like thinking of like the dreams and stuff. I think I was listening to a podcast, and I can't remember what podcast it was, but they were talking about how dreams have so many different interpretations, and that so often how we look at a dream is not at all what a dream is about. And it just got me thinking about the whole dream thing. And in this podcast, it was a guy who had a reoccurring. He was a professor, and he'd had a reoccurring dream about, he was walking in. He taught a whole bunch of different classes, and he was walking into his classroom, and he would go up to the podium and start to teach, and he couldn't remember which class he was supposed to teach. And so he would sort of like ask these leading questions of the students, trying to like think that they'll give him the answer that'll help him like remember which class he's supposed to teach. And this dream and like these students would never give him an answer that helped him at all. But he kept having this dream over and over and over again. So he goes to a dream therapist, and there really are dream therapists, because I didn't know that, and he was talking to his dream therapist, and his dream therapist said, well, what makes you think you're the one who's supposed to teach the class? And so, because he was thinking, the professor was initially thinking, it's an anxiety dream. I mean, I think most of us would think off the surface that's an anxiety dream, not being able to remember which class to teach. So the dream therapist said, well, what if it's actually what if you're maybe not supposed to be the one teaching? And the professor's like, I'm the professor, of course I'm supposed to be teaching, And so the dream therapist guy said, well, I don't know, it's just something to think about. So the next time he has the dream, instead of going up to the front of the room and trying to, teach and try to find out what he's supposed to teach, and he sits down with his students. And then the door opens, and the professor walks in and starts the lecture. And what this dream was really about was that he needs to like sit back and listen to other people and quit thinking he's the one who has the answers all the time. Right? And like I said,
Very
like that
cool.
initial dream, like you think it's just an anxiety dream. And it just made me think about how dreams have so many different things to them that I don't think always, sometimes, I don't know, I always tell my clients when they have weird dreams that it's the emotion in the dream that matters more than anything else. It's not necessarily what happens, it's like the emotion with what happens. But anyway, that's just, sorry, I'm getting
I remember reading a book on dreams once, and it said something about the part of your dream that's most memorable, that has the most, what you said, emotion tied to it, is the part that you should focus on. So that's,
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's really cool.
So interesting.
Yeah.
You guys,
So,
I'm so sorry. There are literally like 10 dogs here that are running back behind me. There's little kids. My son just got in the truck and was like, you have to turn off the car. You're going to use all Dad's gas. Like, I'm so sorry. Did you just hear him get in the car and be like, Mom, he just got in the truck and turned off the car. He's like, you're using all Dad's gas. All that live stream adventure. And no one here understands even what I'm doing. They just think I'm sitting in the car just laughing at myself.
Yeah, what's Jennie doing out there by herself laughing in the car?
In the truck, what is happening? So, anyway.
Well, we're glad you made it.
Yeah, live stream adventures. It wouldn't be a live stream with us if we didn't have some kind of fun adventure, right?
Yeah, we're so professional.
So Abbie, what's next for you? Is this series complete with these 3 books, or are you continuing on, or what's next?
This series is complete. There are no more books in this series. And then the next book coming out is Defying Evil, and that will be out I think October 17th. So, and it's book 1 in a new series, and it's got my flavor to it, but it doesn't have the dreams in it. It's got every other Abbie Roads flavor, but it just doesn't have the dreams.
Oh, interesting. Can you give us a little? So, is it any way related to your series?
No, not at all. It's the son of a serial killer falls for his father's only surviving victim.
Oh, I remember you talked about that. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and she's scared of him, and he's obsessed with her. But before it's all over, they'll need each other to survive.
Oh, I can't wait.
Right, looking forward to it.
Do you have a cover for that one? I know. Do you have a cover for that one?
I do, but I can't share it yet. The cover reveal is coming up maybe next week or the week after. I forget.
Oh, how
it's
fun!
Coming up soon.
Oh, that's exciting.
Abbie, what kind of advice would you give to someone who wants to be a writer? This is a question from Jennifer.
There's so much advice to give, and you know what? I think you guys should give advice too. Like, this isn't just mine. You guys do stuff too. But I will say, I feel like taking the time to actually learn the craft is really good, because I've had friends who've like, oh, I know how to write. I've journaled my whole life, and then they write a book and publish it, and it's, God love them, it's really crappy. Because they never, God love them, but it's really crappy because they never learned kind of the rules that we have. And I don't think readers realize that we have these rules, and to another author, you can really tell if somebody never took the time. There are things like show, don't tell. There are overused words to know about. There are just little things like that. And it's really easy to learn this stuff. You just have to put a little effort in to learn. But
I never knew about word echoes. Remember when you learned about the word echo and a repeat word? Right. I never knew about that. And now I cannot write a sentence if it's got the same word in it twice.
Right. And there are some words that it's really hard because how else do you say door? How else do you say hand? Because I've run into that, there is no other word for hand other than hand, So, but yeah, like I said, just take your time to learn your craft. You know what I mean? Just take a little bit of time to learn that stuff. So what would you guys say?
I think also read. So read in the genre that you're writing in, but just be reading all the time, and go to writers' conferences. So they're coming back again. And I have to tell you guys, my little memory shots keep coming up, and I just had the cutest memory of Abbie and Sharon and I at RWA Denver. It was so cute. This picture just came up a couple days ago of the 3 of us together.
The blonde trio, right?
The blonde trio. Yep, exactly. So yeah, I would say go to writers' conferences, be around other writers, spend time with other writers. And when you go to writing conferences, you take classes, you learn. So I agree with Abbie about learn your craft, and writing conferences are some of the best places to take workshops for that. Join writers groups in your community, and writing is a marathon, not a sprint. Everything takes forever with publishing and write. It takes a long time to write the book. It takes a long time to query the book. It takes a long time to get the book published. Once you write it, it takes a long time for it to come out. So
yeah, that was going to be my advice, is just develop patience, because it takes years to learn how to write a book. People think it doesn't, but it does. Every big national bestselling author will tell you it takes years and years and years to learn, then to write, and then to edit, and to get rejected. And the other thing is that rejection is a really important part of the process. And if you go straight indie, that's fine. But if going the querying route is really good, it's good for the soul. When you get that first terrible review, you know, you're like, whatever. I've already been rejected 600 times. Who cares? But if you've never been that route before, it's hard. It can be soul crushing. And part of the process and the time is to toughen you up, and you need it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, you know, piggybacking on what Sharon just said, you know, Sharon, at the beginning, I talked about how Sharon and I entered contests, and Sharon is finally ahead of me. But part of the benefits of those contests were you got people reading your first, you know, 20 pages, 50 pages, and they would give you feedback. And sometimes that feedback would be very helpful, and other times, you know, it would be like soul crushing and mean, you know, and that really helps you kind of it's preparing you for negative reviews and rejection down the road, you know. So I almost writing contests, I think, are a great thing to see how you are measuring up, you know, and to get other people's opinions on like what you're doing that don't know you and aren't your best friend and aren't your family, because they're all going to love everything you do, you know. So
yeah, anyway. It really, those kinds of things really teach you the critical thinking skills to determine what's personal and what's not.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a huge skill and it takes time. Again, it takes time to really learn how to put your own emotions aside so you can decide, is this a personal attack or is this an actual valid critical attack? Or, you know,
and I think that's so super important to be able to like understand, because like I had people when I was first writing Dangerous Dreams say stuff about Xander and Isleen's names. Like I had one person say, well, these are sci-fi names. These aren't names that we would see in romance at all. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what romance you're reading, but like, you know, like these are like normal names, you know, and you have to like be able to like, oh no, I'm going to go change it right now. No, just because one person said that, you have to be able to have that critical thinking where you're like asking yourself, like, really? No, I kind of agree with that, you know? So Diana, what's your advice?
My advice would be to write what you love, because you're going to read it 1,000 times. So write something you really, really love to read.
That's true.
So,
that's true.
You're
That's very, very true.
Read it. So, and I see Pam has a question here. She says, Abbie, how many books will be in the new series?
So there's just going to be, for right now, there's 2. There'll be Defying Evil and Capturing Fate. And when Defying Evil comes out, Capturing Fate will be prepared and ready to go right then too. So you can do books 1 and 2 right then.
Oh, nice.
The series is set up that I could do more if I wanted, but I'm not right there to do that yet. I'm working on something else. So, I mean, maybe down the road something will come after Capturing Fate, but not right now.
Okay. All right. So, and Jennifer wants to know basically what your writing process is.
Yes.
I use computer, and every once in a while, if I get really stuck and I don't know what direction I'm going to go, I'll like do a list of like 10 options of the direction I could go. And I'll do that by hand and just sort of usually write, like I have in my mind 10. I have to have 10 options. And then after I get my 10 written, I usually pick the craziest one. And then go so,
yeah, Abbie, do you ever scare yourself? Like some of the scenes are scary, and I get scared. And I just wonder if you ever like, oh my gosh, I'm like, this is hard to write at night in the dark.
You know, I'll tell you, I don't normally get scared by what I'm writing, but one scene I will tell you in Broken Dreams where Junior is in the hotel room with her, and he gets her down on the ground and he covers her mouth with his hand and blows in her nose. I had a boyfriend who was abusive and did that to me when I was a teenager. And so writing that was a little bit, you know, that just brought back that
terrifying
feeling, because it is a not good feeling to have that happen to you, to be like powerless and have somebody like, I don't even know if that's got a name for when they do it, what that's called, but it's just a very not good physically and mentally healing. So that's probably the scariest thing for me personally.
Wow.
I think I got scared.
Yeah.
That scared me too. And I have this, I like to breathe. I have this thing about breathing.
Yeah, right? Right? Yeah.
Pam has a question. Abbie, has anyone asked you to use their name for a character?
Nobody's asked me to use their name for a character, but I use people I don't like for characters' names.
I know you do.
I do. Like, yeah.
I'm
like
always very
Robert,
nice to you.
Robert Malone, my sister's ex-husband, was named Robert, and that's Junior's dad, you know, and so that's why he gets that. And William was in, I can't remember if it was this book, but William was used, and that was his dad, Robert's dad, you know, so like I use, you know, and then Malone was a bully on the bus when I was, you know, in school, and he was the mean kid who beat up on everybody. So that's why Robert Malone ended up in there. So
That's funny.
yeah.
Your own kind of therapy.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
do
work it out on the page.
Yep.
Jennifer wants to know, what book have you read lately that you would recommend to your readers?
What book have I read lately? God, you know, I have like no memory. So
I'm terrible
I
with titles. I
seriously
never remember titles.
yeah, and I can't either. I can usually remember author names better than I can titles. Let's see here.
People We Meet on Vacation. Have you guys read Emily Henry yet?
No, not yet.
No, but I've seen it and I've been interested in it.
So I just finished it and it was very good.
Oh,
I have, I would say this is on my list and I will go back and reread it many times, but Laura, I'm not sure how you say her last name. The she writes the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, the Four Horsemen series, and Pestilence has my heart so hard, you know. So it's one of those ones I will go back
Only
and
in
read so many
romance can we
times.
have that sentence.
Pestilence, I love Pestilence, you know. But that's really good. And then Lisa Reagan's got a new one coming out really soon. I
saw that.
The newest one. Yeah, like I am just jonesing for that one. And then I am like super, super, super excited to read Jennie's new one. Like I know. I've just been waiting a little while because I wanted to read it closer to when we do your live stream so I don't forget anything. But like I've just like I've been physically holding myself back because I'm so excited to read that one.
I know. I've got it to go to my trip in August, so I'll finish it and then to come back. That's why we're doing the live stream in September, right? Because I'm going to be gone.
Oh gosh, you guys are so sweet.
So, Abbie, what inspired you to first start writing?
Didn't I ask her this question?
Well, you know,
a little bit, yeah.
You know, I didn't become a writer, even though I wanted to become a writer when I was in second grade, because I had a teacher somewhere else tell me that because I couldn't understand grammar, that I couldn't be a writer. So I didn't become a writer. And I had always wanted to become a writer until that teacher told me that. And then I'm like, okay, well, I guess I can't. Because you start talking grammar words.
Oh, I remember.
Like,
yeah.
I don't understand grammar language. It's like you're speaking about Rocky or something. Like I don't know what any of it means. And so I went into mental health. I'm a mental health therapist in my day job. And then when I hit about 35, I just kind of realized I wasn't happy. Like something was missing. And after deciding, well, I'll write children's books because that's easy, right? You know, and then I like hated that.
Yeah.
Hated even trying that. And then I thought, well, I'll try YA. And so the very first version of Dangerous Dreams was YA, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Good, nice way to terrorize the
shocker.
teenagers.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they deserve it. They're putting their mouths over people's noses and stuff. They deserve it.
Oh my God.
Right. And so about halfway through the YA version of Dangerous Dreams, I was like, this is not YA. I know that. But I made myself finish the book just so I could finish a book. Like I felt like I needed that completion to show myself I could do it. And then the next day started the adult version. So, yeah.
And so what do you write daily or just on the weekends or?
I try to write daily, but I only have like an hour. I like to write in the bathtub. And so it's sort of like I turn all the lights out, put a candle on, and just like write in the tub. I was telling the girls before we got started today that in my group, in my Dangerously Dark Darlings, I saw the live stream, being advertised. This is last night. I was in the tub, with the candle on. And so I saw it, and the post said something like, click here to do something, and I thought it was going to be like helping to advertise or like say I was going to the live stream, and I just wanted to see like what your reader experience is when you click that. So I'm like in the tub and I click it, and then all of a sudden the green light on my camera comes on, like it's on, and I'm like, oh my god, and I'm like trying to like figure out how do I shut it off real quick and like cover the camera and all that. So there might have been a moment where everybody got a shot of me in the tub last night. So I do apologize if anybody saw that. So.
So I have a question for all of you guys. When we were just talking about, Abbie, you were talking about rereading a certain book. Do you guys often reread a book, or do you, like for me, I very, very rarely ever go back and read a book again, because there's so many books that I'm dying to read. Do you guys reread books very often, or do you just read the next newest?
I reread all the time. Like
you do
read all the time, because it's like a comfort read. Like if I've read it before, sometimes it's hard to find, like there are lots of books that I want to read, and there might be one that I want to read and I'll start it, but it's not hitting me. You know what I mean? And I might go through a phase where I'm trying 3 or 4 different books and none of them are hitting me. And then I'll just go to a comfort read and read one that I've read before, because it's giving me exactly what I want, and then I can usually go back and read the other one. So
Diana, do you reread books again, or do you read new?
Well, sometimes I reread books again because I don't realize I've read them before. So this happened not too long ago. I was reading this Nora Roberts book, and I was like, I know what's going to happen next. Sure enough, it happened. And I said, yeah, I've read this before, but I kept reading it because it was so enjoyable. So, yeah. Accidentally, I do.
Yeah, that happens to me too.
Yeah,
I reread a lot, and then just like Diana, I'll reread and think, wow, this seems kind of familiar, but maybe not. And then, sure enough, I've read it before. But kind of like Abbie, I'm a very moody reader, and I have to be in a certain mood to read a certain kind of book. And if I can't find one to fit that mood, I know I have one on the shelf that will suit that mood. So yeah, like Barbara said, she reads books. She rereads books when she's in a reading funk. I do the same exact thing, and I have different kinds of books for different kinds of funks, different seasons of funks, like
different seasons of funks. Yeah, right.
I can't even think of a book that I've read twice, because there's so many books that I want to read, and my bookshelves are so overflowing with so many hundreds and hundreds of books that I have. I probably have 1,000 books on my Kindle. I just am not a reader. I might someday go back and reread the Harry Potter series, but I just don't.
Well, like that would be a good one.
Pam was just saying she reads when it's a part of the series. I'll do that too. Like
I do that too.
A year gap in between books, I'll start back at the beginning of the series and read all the books just to like catch up with the newest book coming out. So yeah, I
just did that with some J.R. Ward books, because there was a new one coming out and I couldn't remember.
Yes.
And then I've also done it with Outlander, because so much time.
You reread Outlander? Those books are
well, I started reading. I know, but they came out a long time ago, and I read them then. And then a couple years ago, when the TV show started again, I slowly started rereading them, because there was no new book out. So I slowly started rereading them. And there was so much in those books, I just forgot.
And did you guys have a feeling like, I don't know. So I also read Outlander 20 years ago, or whatever it was, when Outlander first came out, and we loved it, and we were big Outlander fans. And then all of a sudden the shows come out, and all these people are like, we love Outlander, and you're like, yeah, but loved it like 20. We've been loving it for 20 years. We loved it first.
Yeah, you're fake.
Right. I was following that band before they were cool. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. Right.
Yeah, we've been Red Jamie fans for 20 years.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Although I will confess, I never read Outlander until the TV show came out.
Oh, you didn't?
So-
Really?
Mhm.
She came to RWA though. Don't you remember? She came like in 2008. You were there with me, Abbie.
Mhm.
I don't remember it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Gosh, I would love to meet Diana Gabaldon.
Well, it was me and 5,000 people in the auditorium, but it was really fun. And she talked a lot about, and including Abbie. And I just remember her talking about how long it took her to get published. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It took her a long time because no one wanted to read a 10,000 page manuscript.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, so
the things that they say about like writing advice. So Outlander is one of those books that people say, oh, just get past page 100. If you can just get to page 100, and then it gets so good. And now if you haven't like grabbed your audience by page 1.5, then I feel like anymore, we don't have 100 pages to try to grab our, you have to grab them in the first, 3 or 4 pages. Yeah, in the first page.
Yeah. Pam says she gets audiobooks, and I do that on really long books too, Pam. Like, because I don't have the time to physically sit and read, so I mostly right now do almost all my reading in audio, because especially long books. There's some shorter books like Jenny's books I'll read, because they're just suck you in and you can't let go, but like a lot of them I'll just do audio, especially like if I'm doing a thick book like the Outlander I did in audio. A lot of Stephen King I'll do in audio because it's just so thick.
We did the Game of Thrones books in audio.
Yeah, I did that in audio. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
So Jennifer loves rereading books, and so does Barbara. She said she rereads the J.D. Robson Death series. That's a good one to reread.
I need to go back and reread that one.
I know. I was just thinking that.
That's funny.
I lost.
And I love all of Nora Roberts' suspense, but I just am not a J.D. Robb fan.
Really?
Yeah. If Nora ever listens to this, I'm sorry. I really, really, really love all of your other books, but I don't cross over to J.D. Robb. I don't know why.
Have you read the first one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've read several. I just like her other. I don't know. I started The Reef was my first one. Do you remember the first Nora Roberts book you read?
It was the Irish Brothers.
Lord,
There were the silhouettes. I can't remember.
I don't remember the last one I read, obviously.
Yeah,
I read it twice.
The Reef and the Villa was my introduction into Nora Roberts.
I know I read that one a long time ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was a long time ago. We don't need to talk about how long ago it was. Back in Outlander 20 years ago.
Abbie, do you Jennifer, I want to know about your covers. If you have a say on your covers, or does your editor pick your cover?
When I was published with Source Books, I got no say in the cover or title. So a lot of times when you're published with a publisher, not every time because Jenny's experience is different, but a lot of times you don't get a say in your cover or title if you're published with a publisher. Now, this new series, these books, I chose the cover and I chose the title. So
And they're beautiful.
Cover.
They really are.
Yeah,
cover
they're
is an amazing
they're
job.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Are you going to use the same cover designer for the next for Defying Evil?
Mm-mm. She was too busy, and so yeah.
Well, you got us all excited to see it.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, I'm excited for y'all
I
to
feel
see it
like-
because it's really different.
Yeah.
It's really
All
different.
right. Well, very exciting. So, real quick, what was your favorite scene in this book?
Oh my God, there's so many good ones.
Really, there are.
I would have to really sit and think about this to think about it. But I think one of my favorites is probably When They Meet. Like when he just sees her on the road and she's waving her shoes at him, and like it just look, who's this woman waving her shoes at me? And then just decides to turn around and help her, and just that whole. I love that he is trying with her when I don't think he's tried with other people. Like he's trying to be friendly, he's trying to be nice and telling her his name, and like I think he's trying, and I think that's not his norm, and I feel like that's the fact that he's trying, I think, and the fact that he's hearing impaired and he can't tell what her name is because he's never heard the name Ebony, and to him, when he's lip reading, V's and F's look alike, so it looks like I'm a funny, and he's thinking, like, did she in her head? Like, why is she saying her name? I'm a funny, and then, that he just starts to call her honey because she smells like honey to him. Like, I just think that whole scene is very sweet with the two of them, and how she's holding his hand and, kind of hiding behind him. And I just like that scene. I think
I love the scene where she comes down the stairs in the white gown towards the end. That's one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a beautiful scene.
That is good.
I like when he can first hear because of her hand. I love that. Was just magical.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great
And
scene.
then the next time when he hears his dad's voice, and I don't want to give too much away if you haven't read it, but that was great. That was amazing.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it for Jenny.
Thinking about that. So what was your favorite scene in Shattered Dreams?
Yeah, I was going to say, in Shattered Dreams, I really loved it. Actually, my favorite, I'm with Diana, the part where he first sees color, that was just really, I loved that.
That's a great scene.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And that book had me, like, I read it until 10 till 12 at night. I just was like, okay, one more. And it had me so engaged. And I was so mad yesterday when the thing came on, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm reading the wrong book.
And what's funny about Shattered Dreams is I wrote that book when I was so stressed, so burned out. Like I was this close to quitting being a writer. Like every word of that book was painful. Every sentence hurt, every new page was torture. Like it was just hard to do that book. Like that book was just so tough. And I blew deadline after deadline after deadline getting that book out, and to getting that book done. And people seem to like it, even though it's like I have these, like, it was so hard for me to get out. It's like I'm always surprised when people really like it, and people seem to like it, but just because I had so much bad going on in me when I wrote it. So
isn't that funny how some books are just kind of pour out of you, and other books you just have to like drag out of you, like crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for showing up.
Yes, we're so happy
this was so much fun. And I have to say that, like, during the middle of it, I was giggling. It was because you guys were accidentally telling who the next book was for our next book club reading. And I was giggling. And then I panicked and asked a panicked question, and it had already been asked. So that's what that whole thing was about. So you already know what our next book is, and we're so excited to read Take the Honey and Run.
Oh, I can't wait.
I know.
The beautiful cover. So we're so excited. So we will see you all next time to chat with Jenny. So have a great rest of your summer, everyone. Bye-bye.